Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. So there isn't any news as far as for the miners are concerned or anything really interesting happening in Bitcoin right now. So we'll take a look at what's going on in the markets. The markets are down for the most part today. Bitcoin was up today along with Ethereum. The miners were mixed. We'll take a look at all that, what's going on there. And then we'll take a look at Hut 8. I've updated their spreadsheet here, so we have the newest dashboard style looking here. We have a lot more data here that we can take a look at, and a lot of it is interesting, so we'll go through that. And then we also have this 30% energy tax impact that the Biden administration has provided us back in March, I believe it was. So I finally gotten through to getting this stuff done here for you guys. And we'll take a look at what the impact is on the miners as far as profitability is concerned at 1 exahash through going all the way like to 22.5 exahash, and what the cost for them is as far as profitability and everything else. We'll take a look at all that. But as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research, and I'm invested in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. Let's take a look at what's going on in the markets here really quick. So when we look at the markets here, we can see the S&P was down 1.58% to 4,071. Dow Jones was also down 1.02% to 33,530. NASDAQ was down 1.89% to 12,725. Most of that might be because that one bank provided that they had a lot of, I can't remember the bank name right now, but they provided they had 100 million in withdrawals in the last quarter, which was just huge. So that stock has pretty much tanked like 80-90%. And I think that might be bringing the markets down a little bit. But Bitcoin on the news was actually up today. So Bitcoin was up today, if we look at it here, was up 2.87% to 28,304. It was a pretty good climb today. It did bounce. If you look at it here closer, we can see that it bounced pretty much up to our 20-day moving average, which is the blue line here. And then it touched it again here just recently, but it's coming back down a little bit. Now, the concerning part for me on this is that we have bounced between these two levels here, which is the 50-day moving average and the 20-day moving average. But what I'm seeing here on the forward chart is that the RSI is much higher now, even though the price has not really done that well. So if we look at the previous time, the RSI was at 61 here. It was back here on April 18th. And price at that point was much higher here, right? So that's one thing that we can look at here. And also on the 1 hour chart, we can see that we are in the overbought territory at 76 on the RSI. And last time we were back here was way back, also probably right around that same time, around April 18th as well. At that point, Bitcoin price was much higher as well. Looking at a little bit shorter time frame here, looking at the peaks at 59, going back to this 59 peak here, you can see that also that Bitcoin at that time was actually, if we look at it here, 60, or was it 61 over here, Bitcoin is actually now up a little bit in price. So there's a little bit of confliction going on here as far as which way we might be going. Right now, I'm just not seeing that reversal happening that I wanted to see. And I think we might be coming back down, but we'll see. Right now, it's just way overbought on the 1 hour chart. If we look at the 15-minute chart, we can see that we've been bouncing on that as well. That has come down a little bit here, but we are definitely hot right now as it is. So we'll see how this continues going. My thought process is that we possibly will come down a little bit more, but that's just me on the daily. You can see the jump up a little bit here. So we'll see. It could be wrong. If I'm wrong, that'd be great. But I think I might be heading towards the downside a little bit more, at least shortly. I don't think we're done with this yet. Okay, so that's Bitcoin there. Ethereum, let's take a look at that one as well. Ethereum was up today as well, 1.31% to a close of 1,866. It also came pretty close to the 20-day moving average here, which is right there at 1910. And we got to, let's see, what was the high on that one? Was about 1884. So we got pretty close to it as well. So we are bouncing between those two lines right now on that one as well. And if we look at the forward chart, we can see that the RSI is a little bit better positioned than it was in Bitcoin. It's at 49. Last time we were back here at 49. Price was much higher at that point. Looking at the 1 hour chart, we can see that the RSI is now at 62. Last time we were pretty close to it was back here. And Ethereum price at that time was actually higher. So that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking that we might be going down a little bit more on both of these before all is said and done. Okay, so that's Bitcoin and Ethereum. And let's take a look at the miners here really quick. Annie was up today 1.3% to 42 cents. Argo was up 0.37% to $1.36. BitDigital was down actually 2.37% to $1.65. Bitfarms was up 0.95% to $1.06. Cypher was up 5.77% to $2.20. CleanSpark was down 1.87% to $3.67. Cores was up 0.7% to 35 cents. DigiHost was down 4.85% to $1.57. DMG was down 0.82% to 21 cents. Greenwich was down 2.48 to 52 cents. Hive was down 0.32% to $3.14. Hut was actually up 1.8% to $1.70. Iris Energy was down 2.69% to $3.98. Marathon was up 1.12% to $8.99. Mawson was down 0.33% to $3.01. Riot was up 3.08% to $10.71. Soluna was down 6.45% to 22 cents. Stronghold was down 1.95% to 93 cents. Wolf was down 2.8% to $1.39. And let's see here. That's all of the miners here. Yep, that's all the miners here right now. Let's take a look at the network hash rate, see what's going on there really quick as well. And we can see that network hash rate has been increasing here. On the 7-day average is at 350 million. On the 1-day average, let's take a look at that one really quick. It has come back down here a little bit to 302 million. So still in the upwards trajectory, but just seems like we've kind of, like I said yesterday, we've kind of peaked a little bit and now we're just kind of going sideways a little bit. We'll see how long this lasts though. Okay, so that's it for those. Let's take a look at Hut 8 here. We've done this one before, but it was a different spreadsheet. Well, it's the same spreadsheet, but just this one's updated now with a lot more metrics that we have here for them, and we can kind of go back 12 months and see how they've progressed. So Hut 8 has 223 million shares outstanding roughly, market cap about 373 million, stock price $1.60 something. I didn't update this today, so that's off by a little bit on that one, but we're pretty close to that. Current hash rate is about 2.6 exahash. Future hash rate is supposed to be around 3.28. Roughly, they have about 694 petahash left to install. So they are 78.91% operational. Hash rate growth left is about 26.73%. They do hodl a lot though. 9,113 BTC is being hodled. That's valued at about 262 million right now. And their hodl to market cap is 70.31%, which is probably one of the highest ones here that we cover. And each share has about $1.17. So majority of the shares are basically hodl value. Okay. Now, looking at the BTC production here, we can see that they have, in the beginning of last year, started going up a little bit as far as production is concerned, all the way through August, which they peaked at 375. September was down to 277, then up a little bit in October to 299, and then November down to 238. December was down to 161. January, they were up a little bit here to 188, and then they've been down in February to 156, and March 131. Right, part of that problem is that their growth has been kind of leveled off a little bit here and even actually went down because of the dispute with the electricity provider at North Bay, I believe it is. So that's contributed to less and less Bitcoin being generated. Plus, with them not growing, that's the other reason there for it. Okay, you can see that their BTC value of their market cap is about 41.28%. If I have that correct, yep, 41.28% of that makes up for it, right? It should be. Well, it's a combination of the two, so I'll have to see that one. Hash rate left, 684 petahash. Future hash rate, they're pretty much almost fully installed. And then BTC for the month was 131 mined. BTC sold was 240, so they sold almost double that what they mined. And they still have the hodl position of 9,133. You can see that their hodl position has been growing over the months here up to, looks like January is when they peaked. And then they sold off in February and in March. And you can see how much they sold off here in this bottom chart. They sold 188 in February and 240 in March, it looks like. So they've sold pretty much their production here for, what is it going to be? 240 and 188. It's going to be 428. 428. So almost 3 months worth of production here, it looks like. They've sold off in just 2 months alone. And they're trying to dilute less because they have diluted like crazy last year, just trying to hodl everything. Okay, so that's that. Their BTC per exahash efficiency has been coming down as well. The average right now for the miners that are doing really good is about 85, 86, 87, 88, right around there. They're way below that right now. They're one of the least efficient miners that we cover here currently. And then if we look at their hash rate and revenue, we can see that their hash rate, like I said, back in December, kind of plummeted here a little bit because of the North Bay dispute with the electricity provider. You can see that they were at 3.2, and that fell down to 2.5 in December, and stayed that way for a couple months. They had a little bit of an increase in March here to 2.594, and then their value or revenue generated per Bitcoin per month, has been coming down here pretty consistently here throughout the year. They were really good at 11.6 million at the beginning of April of last year, so right around this time. And then you can see that it came down, went up a little bit, and then continued to come down, went up, and it's continuing to come down. So that's concerning as well. Okay, here's their hash rate difference from each month. BTC sold value. They sold 4.38 million roughly in February and 6 million in March, so that's about 10 million there. Last 4 quarters revenue, you can see that that has been continuing to come down, even with Bitcoin going up in value the last quarter here, Q1 of 2023. They've actually generated less Bitcoin, but we'll see how that plays out, because this also includes, I'm trying to think, it doesn't include anything else. I think it's just for Bitcoin. They're self-mining and also possibly for the data centers as well, possibly in there. But that's kind of where we're at right now. That might be up a little bit with the data centers as well. I'm just looking at the Bitcoin mine. Okay, last 4 quarters operating costs, those have been going up as well, so that's not a good sign there. They dumped a lot of stuff in Q4 that highly increased their cost by almost 4x here from Q3. They were at 42.61 million in Q3. Now in Q4, 165.182 million. Huge increase in there. That's not good. We'd like to see that come down on their operating costs as well. Other metrics wise, when we look at them here, cost of mining 1 BTC is about 18.4 thousand for Q4, up a little bit from Q3, which was 17.7K, but still down from Q2, where it was 25.27K. So that's good there. And then Bitcoin mined per quarter, they've been kind of flat here a little bit, with some little advances here from quarter to quarter in the first 3 quarters of 2022. And then Q4 had a big dip there to 698, and Q3 had 982. So that's another thing that's kind of concerning, right? They're generating less and less Bitcoin each month. And then looking at their debt to equity, lower is obviously better here. That has increased a little bit here over the last 3 quarters to Q4 of being 0.1752. Q3 was 0.357, sorry. And then their current ratio, higher is better. That's been coming down as well. They started out at Q1 with 20, and they're down to 8.1513 in Q4 as well. But they're still doing really good. They still have plenty of cash. They can basically pay their current liabilities off 8 times over. So that's not a big issue there. Not too concerning there as well. Total current assets has been coming down from a high of Q1 of 453.6 million all the way down to Q4 of 245.6 million. And that could be based on, number one, Bitcoin value coming down, miner depreciation, all that stuff as well. It's having an impact on it, so that's okay there. And their total current liabilities has been increasing here steadily ever since it should have been, why does it say Q1 there? It should have been Q4. These are off. I'll have to change these. I'll update these for you guys. But that's been going up a little bit here, but still not concerning because they still have so much cash or in HODL position, which is fine. Okay. Now, as far as institutions and analyst ratings, we've went over this before. Those are still the same. We have 1 strong buy rating, 1 buy rating, 2 hold ratings. Price target is a high of $3.72. Average is at $2.11, and the low is at $1.12. I have them at currently with a P of 15. At 50% net income from gross revenue, which is the current quarter that we're in, plus the last 3 quarters, which are official. Combined total is about 72.2 million. So we're looking at $2.42 for them for that 75% net income from gross revenue. With a P of 15, we're looking at $3.63. So kind of in line with what they're kind of looking at here as far as analysts are ratings them on, okay? So I still think that they are undervalued, but definitely would like to see them grow a lot more. Now, they are going to be going with the USBTC merger. We'll see how that goes through for them. That should get them at least, I think, another 2.5 exahash, possibly of self-mining. So that would increase things for them a little bit here as well. But I'm not sure how all the share dilution is going to work, where they're doing a split and equal merger things. It's just going to be weird and crazy there. But we'll cover it, obviously, when it does happen here. So, as always, you guys know that spreadsheets are available to all my Patreon members. They get these, and then also my YouTube members get basically a printout of this dashboard here for them. And that gets uploaded here probably either later on tonight or tomorrow, sometime when I have the time to do it. So those will get there. Also, another thing I'm thinking about doing is maybe making this into a podcast version of it as well. I'm going to try it out, see how it goes. If it goes well, I think YouTube makes it pretty easy to do that. So I figured, why the heck not? We'll do that as well. So if you guys want to just listen to an audio version of this, you can, or at least in some time. And I'll let you know when that does happen, when these do go live that way. Okay, so that's it for HUT. Let's take a look at the 30% energy tax hike here. So like I said, the President Biden announced, or his cabinet announced, that they're going to be possibly imposing a 30% energy tax on basically Bitcoin miners, anywhere that they are within the United States. And I wanted to see what kind of an impact that would have on them. So the way I set this up is basically going with the cost per kilowatt hour in cents. So this is the header here up top. So we're going all the way from basically 2.5 cents all the way up to 7 cents. The majority of the miners are somewhere in between like 3.5 and 5.5 cents, I believe. There might be some that are a little bit higher if they're hosting with other companies, because they're definitely not going to get the regular rate that the hosting company gets. Hosting company is probably going to want to make a little bit on it as well, so they're going to charge you a little bit more for that. So that's why I put it in between 2.5 and 7 cents. I think a couple might be 2.5 cents or close to that, or around 3 cents, based on being what do they call it? Before the grid, before was it prior to the meter or something like that they call it? I can't remember what they call it, but it's before the meter, I think, and they're hooked up to the nuclear power stations. They're around 2.5, 3 cents on that, but that's only for a limited time, I think, for a couple of years. Nonetheless, they do have that, so that's why I included that in here as well. Okay, so the first line here that we have is the cents per kilowatt hour, which is 2.5 cents to 7 cents. After the 30% increase, here's what we end up getting. So then it goes up to basically from 2.5 cents to 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour if you're at 2.5 cents right now. And then it goes all the way up to, at 7 cents, it goes up to 9.1 cents. So that's a huge increase for those that are paying already a higher fee for electricity as it is, right? So that increase is written down here. So at 2.5, you're going up 0.008 cents. And at 7 cents, you're going up 0.021 cents. Basically 2.1 cents, I guess is the way to put it on that one. Okay, so that's definitely a huge increase there for them. So they're going to be paying a heck of a lot more in fees, taxes, basically, because of that. So I took into account for the 100 terahash miners cost per day, what it costs right now. At 2.5 cents, it costs about $1.82 to operate that miner for the day. And that's just a single miner, just so you guys know. And then it goes all the way up to $5.08 at 7 cents currently. After the 30% increase goes into effect, now you're paying $2.37 at the very lowest end at 2.5 cents. Now it would be 3.3 cents. And then at the very high end at 9.1 cents, you're paying $6.60. Right, so that's a huge difference there comparing the bottom end to the high end. You're basically on the lower end paying 55 cents more per day per miner, as opposed to the higher end here, you're paying $1.52 more, right? Almost 3 times what somebody else is on the bottom end paying. Now, if we added this all up and said 1 exahash, what would that actually entail? So on that one, the added cost, somebody that's at 1 exahash right now would be about $5,460 per day on average if this tax goes through at 2.5 cents or 0.33 cents. If somebody is at the 9.1 cents, well, now you're at $15,000 in 240 days, or $240 per day on 1 exahash. In 30 days worth, you're paying $163,000 more on the 3.3 cents here on the low end, and on the high end, you're paying $457,000. That's a lot of change, and that's going to add up relatively quickly, especially when you add in extra exahash, right? So if you have 3, 4, 5, 10, 12, you're going up to 18, all the way up to, say, 22, like Marathon's going to get to, that's going to add up relatively quickly, depending on where you are within the spectrum of cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, so the next line is basically daily profit. So the profit is right now at the current levels at $5.13 at 2.5 cents, and that goes up to, or goes down to $1.87 at 7 cents. Right, that only makes sense because you're paying more in electricity costs. But then after the 30% increase at the 2.5 cents, well, now you're at 3.3 cents. You're at $4.58 in profit. So pretty big decrease there. You're losing basically 55 cents on that one. And then at the high end, you're going to $1.87. And at the very end here at 9.1 cents, you're basically just almost breaking even here at 35 cents profit. I mean, that's measly, that's nothing. And that's a decrease in profit of $1.52. So that's almost to the point where the miners are not profitable at that price or at that point. And if the network hash rate increases, they're more than likely not to be profitable. So those possibly might get shut down. Okay, so there's that one. And then let's take a look at it here. What else do we have here? So that's the difference. 1 exahash daily profit on 1 exahash. You're looking at $551,000 currently at the 3.3 cents. And then at the 9.1 cents at the high end, you're looking at about $18,700. Big difference between the two there. Let's see here. 30-day profit is on the 3.3 cents is 1.539 million. And then looking at the 9.1 cent mark, you're looking at 561,000, basically almost a third of what somebody else is making over here. Then going to, let me see, 1 exahash per day profit plus 30%. Okay, so this is before, this is after the 30% increase. You're now making only 45,840 per day compared to the 51,300. And on the high end, you're making only, let's see if I have this right. Is that right? Let me see here. Make sure I'm in the right line here. 3,000, why would it be that much? Why is that one 51,000 daily profit going down to 45? And then this one goes down to 18 and we're only at, that doesn't make sense. Oh, daily profit. I'm looking at, well, it's daily profit at 1 exahash. Did I do something wrong here? Let me see, which one did I have here? No, that's right. It's going down. And then we're multiplying that times basically 10,000 of those. And yeah, what am I getting for this one? Oh, that was before. Okay. So that was before the increase. This is after the increase. Yep. 18.7 to 13.4 thousand. So that's a huge decrease for them, obviously, in that. So 1 exahash 30-day profit would be, after the 30% increase, would be 1.375 for those that are at the 3.3 cents. And then if we go all the way here, it would only be 103,000 for those after the 30% increase on the 9.1 cents per kilowatt hour. Okay, like I said, there's a lot of math and this stuff can get you a little confusing here. So daily difference on that would be for going from 2.5 to, let's not look at the daily, let's look at the monthly difference because that makes a little bit more sense here. Monthly difference from going from the 2.5 cents to the 3.3 cents is a negative 163,800. That's still a lot. But then when you go on the high end here, going from 7 cents to 9.1 cents, you're basically losing 457,000. So that's definitely a heck of a lot more loss there. For that reason, well, one of the reasons at least I think is, if you slap a 30% entry tax on all these miners, the ones that have the best economics as far as right now getting electricity at the lowest cost are going to be in a much better position than the ones that are at 7 cents or even 6 cents or something like that. For that reason, I don't know, I'm looking at this maybe a wrong way. I'm looking at it that if they're going to do this, where they're going to have an impact on all the miners, they may, and maybe I don't want to give this out to them, maybe this is the wrong thing to say, but maybe they should make it so it's graduated. If you're at a much lower tax bracket or much lower cost per kilowatt hour, maybe you should pay more than somebody that's at the higher end, as just a suggestion there. But right now, those guys that are at the higher end are already paying a lot, and they're going to get stuck paying even more, while somebody else that's on the lower end is paying a little already, but they're going to pay a lot less as well. Okay, that's kind of what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so here's how things stack up here. So we'll just take a look at we'll just look at some round numbers. So if somebody has like 5 exahash, which would be like possibly right now, who's getting to that? I think Bitfarms is getting there, but Bitfarms is not mining in US anyways. They have operations in Canada. So a couple of miners that wouldn't be affected by this would be like Hut, Hive, Bitfarms, and there might be another one that's in Canada as well that's mining. They wouldn't be affected by this, but everybody else would pretty much be affected in this. And so we're looking at companies like TeraWolf, Iris, CleanSpark's above 5 exahash right now. I'm trying to think if there's somebody else. Iris Energy is trying to get there as well, I know. Those guys that do want to get to 5 exahash, this is kind of what they're going to be paying more, or their differences as far as how much they're going to be losing a month in revenue potentially because of it. So at the 2.5 cent mark going into the 3.1, was it? 3.3. They're going to be losing about $819,000 per month. And so that's going to add up relatively quickly here for them. You're looking at approximately $8 million in lost revenue potentially because of that. But somebody that's at 7 going to 9.1, they're going to end up losing approximately 2.2 million in revenue a month on that. And that's going to equate to about 24 million in taxes paid additionally, right? See where that doesn't really sound fair on it. And then if we go to somebody like at 10 exahash, or let's go to 12.5, which I think is going to be where Riot's going to be at. Right now would be paying, if they're at 2.5 cents going into the 3.3 cents, they would be paying about 2 million in extra taxes compared to somebody that's at the higher end at 7 going to 9.1. They would be paying about 5.7 million. So multiply that times 12, and now you're looking at approximately 60 some million in extra taxes somebody would have to pay at that range, right? And their profits wouldn't be all that great. And then if we look at somebody like at Marathon, who's going to be at the 20, I think they're supposed to be at 22.3 or 23.2, something like that. They're going to be on the low end, if they're at 2.5 cents, which I doubt, about 3.6 million on that one. And then the high end would be 10.2. So now you're looking at about 120 million in taxes just a year, which is just insane, right? So that's kind of what I wanted to point out to you guys. I think most of these guys are somewhere between like the 3.5 cents to the 5.5 cent mark. So even at that point, we're looking at, let's say Marathon is doing a lot of hosting. They could be paying still approximately, if they're at 5.5 cents right now, they're going to be paying possibly 21 to 22,000 or 22 million more a month. That's still a lot there. Oh, that's sorry, 8 million. That's the one right here. 8 million a month. So that's still about, what is it going to be? $96 million a year extra, right? If you're at 5.5 cents right now, somebody's at 5 cents, you're paying 7.3 million a month. That's still a huge amount there. Other guys like Marathon is or Riot is at, what are they at? They're like at 5 point something also, right around that range. So they're going to be paying about 4 million more a month to 4.4, somewhere around there. So you can see how this has a huge impact on them. And then here you can see here the cents per kilowatt hour before the increase, after the 30% increase as well, how that stacks up on it. And then I also did another thing as far as the miners that are mining in the United States. So I took out Hive, Hut 8, Bitfarms, and I think that's all I took out of there for right now. But that accounted for about 61.245 exahash of hash rate currently right now that's operating. If this law went into effect right now, what impact would that have on the miners? So on the low end, you're looking at about 10 million a month, right? If they're all at 2.5 cents, which I doubt they're all going to be at that. I think they're going to be closer probably to 5 cents all in on average. So you're looking at approximately 20 million a month extra revenue in taxes for the government based on that. So that's $240 million added there. If they're on the higher end, somebody that's on the higher end could be, well, now you're looking at about 28. So you're at close to 30 million. So now you're looking at close to, well, probably close to 300 million in revenue just in taxes alone on energy. This is crazy, right? That energy that could be used for other things, could be used for jobs, could be used for growing and everything else instead of the government, which is going to just blow the money anyway. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Okay. So that's the impact on that. And you can see the results here as far as what the difference is from the low end to the high end, how much that increases, just 30%, right? The 30% increase on the lower end is going to have a much lower impact than somebody that's already on the higher end. That's going to have a much higher impact on them. And then you can see here that the increase at kilowatt cost, the higher the cents are, the more that you're actually having to pay in electricity costs. And then the more you're also losing in profit loss on the bottom here, on this chart here. Okay, daily profit as well, you can see here is much higher on the ones that are at 2.5 cents right now. And going down to the 7 cents, you can see how much that has had an impact on them as well, along with after the 30% increase, what that would be, and then where they would be actually at that end, right? So 30% is a lot. I could see them, I'm not saying it'd be okay, but I'm saying maybe if it goes up 0.5% or 1% at most, but 30% is just way overkill. And I don't think it's going to pass because it is just not fair to other industries that are also pretty heavily involved in buying up electricity. You still have the smelters that are doing it, aluminum smelters. You still have data centers, regular data centers. You have the regular banking system, right? How many computers do they have? How many, what are those things called? I don't even use those things anymore. ATMs. How many ATMs are there that are drawing power in there? How many do you have these credit card terminals? How many of these computer servers at all these different branches and banks that you have all over the world, or at least all over the United States alone? I mean, how much are those drawing as well? If you're going to, tax somebody 30%, make it fair on everybody. Tax the heck out of everybody, and then would be fair. But if you're just doing it on one group or one sector of the industry, then I think it's not going to pass. But that's just my 2 thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think of this. Obviously, like always, there's a lot of numbers here. I try to make it as simplified as possible. Not always the easiest thing to do with all of these things, but at least I hope the graphs help out a little bit and everything else. So if you guys enjoy the graphs, like I said, YouTube members get the printouts of these graphs, and then Patreon members also get all of this stuff, okay? So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously, and I'll see you guys in the next one. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But other than that, have a great night.